should make you strong.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mayor Davendranath, colleagues, political leader, and leader of the opposition member of parliament, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Visesa, other colleagues presenting on the stage tonight, councillors, viewers online, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Pleasant good night to everybody. Now I have taken a new mantra that economics is not sexy. Economics is not sexy, and many people don't want to hear about economics. It gets them bored. I have a colleague who calls it econobabble because it becomes very complex and debilitating for persons. However, economics is about the production and consumption of goods and services and about the transfer of wealth. And the principles of economics in running a country are basically the same as the principles that you would use in households. You earn money in your households and in your jobs by selling stuff that you would have made or produced in your homes. And sometimes, for bigger items, you have to borrow and pay back on terms over time. Then you spend this money on food, on clothes, you pay for electricity, you pay telephone bills, you buy medicine. And if you are able, many people put aside some savings for rainy days or for investing into bigger things like vehicles or a car, etc., or to pay for your children's education. In the same way, a government earns income through taxation, selling off assets and borrowing as well. So the parallels are there between how it exists in your home and how it exists in government. And then a government is supposed to take the money that it earns and spend that money for the improvement of your standard of living and save some or invest some for the future. But it is critical, ladies and gentlemen, that you pay attention to what this government is doing, because this is your money. And how they spend determines, how they spend your money determines the quality of your life and your standard of living. But you also have to pay attention on how the government is borrowing as well, because at the end of the day, it is you that have to pay all of that money back. Whether you're a taxi driver, a hairdresser, a teacher, a small business owner, once you buy something in this country, you are paying taxes. Whether you're unemployed or a student, once you buy something, you are paying taxes in this country. And therefore, it is your right to know how this government is spending. You know, in our homes in the countryside here, your Minister of Finance is your wife or your mother. Not so? And I'm 100% sure that many women here, many of the women here in this crowd, would make better ministers of finance than this gentleman we have called Paul Members. Mr. Mbert has spent the last 8 going on 9 years jumping from blame Kamala to blame the unions, to blame COVID, to blame the police, to blame the judiciary, to blame global warming, to blame the Ukraine-Russia war, and more recently to blaming you, citizens. You're like a kangaroo for real, but a very small one. Ironically, at the same time that he's blaming everybody and everything, he's walking around telling the country for the last 8 years, going on 9 years, what a great job he is doing, how the country is doing so well under his stewardship. That is an absolute, total lie. Well, I have lawyers here. Not so Brian. I have lawyers here. Let them cover the case. Let me give you some facts, because that is what I like to present when I come to you. When I tell you the minister lie about how well the country is going, how well he has done in the last 8 years, here are some facts. He came in 2015. Net foreign reserves, that's the amount of foreign exchange that we have saved over time. Net foreign reserves, 2015, $10.4 billion he found in the treasury. You know how much is this today? $6.4 billion. That's an improvement? Not at all. Real GDP. GDP is the value of goods and services produced in a country. When a country is doing well, GDP goes up. 2015, real GDP, $187.5 billion. 2022, you know how much it is? $150.4 billion. That is not an improvement, that is a reduction. Number of people employed. 2015, 629,800. 2023, second quarter 2023, that was just recently, 609,800 people. That is not an improvement. That is a worsening of the situation. Net adjusted government debt. 2015, 76.5 billion. 2023, 137 billion. That's how much money they borrow on your head that you have to pay for, and your children and your children's children have to pay for. Murders. Murders. The only thing that going up under this government is murders. Everything else going bad. 2015, 410. 2022, 605. 2023, oh God, I hope it does not get higher than that. Because under this Minister of National Insecurity, things just keep getting worse. But does any of that sound like an improvement? Can you believe anything that these P&M frauds tell you, ladies and gentlemen? But I didn't just come here tonight to tell you what a complete failure Imbert is as Minister of Finance. Every one of you who live in this real world, you all know that already. First hand, as Mayor Meru just mentioned, you know it when you walk outside. When you're afraid, you're living in your house and you're petrified that they will come into your house and rob and murder and kill you. You know that the minister and the government has failed when you drive outside and you have to choose which pothole to go into because they have pothole inside of pothole in Trinidad and Tobago today. You know it, as my colleague just mentioned, when you go to the hospital and they tell you have to wait months and years for emergency surgery to save your life. You know it when you go to the grocery and to the market, when food prices frighten the daylights out of you because food prices have gone up between 50 and 100% under this government. You know it when thousands of young people line up for days to try to get a job in the police service or the prison service or on a cruise ship. You see, unlike Imbert and those sitting in the rowdy cabinet who have armed security for themselves and their families paid for by you, the taxpayers, we know that the country is in crisis because we live in constant fear of being brutalized by the criminals running this country. But I didn't come here, ladies and gentlemen, for that. I didn't come here to tell you what a failure Imbert is. You know that already. I came here to emphasize it. But I came here to tell you, to beg you, ladies and gentlemen, to start to pay some attention in what this government is doing with your money. Because they are spending left, right, and center, and if nothing getting better, why? Why are they spending so much? Where the money go in? This country has collapsed under this P&M administration. The poor are getting poorer. The middle class has been obliterated beyond any recognition. But not everybody is suffering. P&M friends, family and financiers, P&M ministers, their wives, their brother, their father, their sisters, their nenen, they are the ones benefiting from $440 billion spent in the last 8 years and counting. You know how much $440 billion is? $440 billion could pave every single road in this country with $100 bills. 100, could you imagine that? Every single road, track and trace. Who making that money, ladies and gentlemen? Because things bad. You remember the recusal issues? The UNC Buster Mark a year and something ago. That there were ministers using the cabinet door like a revolving door, walking in, excusing themselves, walking out. And when they walk outside, they are walking outside to allow their friends, their colleagues, their partners, I wouldn't say in crime, but their partners, to decide if their project that they have a financial benefit in or their family are benefiting, if that project should go through. I challenge any government minister today to tell this country if there has ever been a single incident where a note come to cabinet and the minister who going to benefit or who family going to benefit step outside and they vote against it. They would not. It's friend thing in this thing. You know, while all of that happening and the billions sharing amongst ministers, friends, family, financiers and relatives, etc., there's a CARICOM survey that was done last year into this year that said that in this country of Trinidad and Tobago in 2023, that there are people who are doing without food for days on end. There are children who are going to school to get a meal, and when we have a holiday, they suffer. That is not me saying that. A CARICOM investigation provided that information. And you know what the PNM's response to that was? One buffoon told citizens to go back and buy coal pot. One boy organized breadfruit on a coal pot. Ride bicycle to go to your job in Port of Spain. Them fellas jokey, you know. And another idiot told people broadly, stop going to cinema 2 and 3 times a week. Who exactly goes to cinema 2 times and 3 times a week? You see these people living in La La Land. They're living in some fairyland that has nothing to do with reality. They lie and they believe their own lies. They are pathological and compulsive liars. You know, in Parang, they have a Parang that's going, lie, lie, lie. That is them. I don't want to sing Rain Might Fall. But I have repeatedly said that you have to be a liar to be a PNM minister. And the more you lie, the higher you go up. Remember King Liar? The King Liar. You have to be a thief, but that's how you go higher. That is how you go higher. A liar, a cheat, a thief. That is how you go higher. But remember the biggest liar? A fella that dealt with email gate. What email gate? That fella was able to become prime minister. But he didn't stop. I sure all of you in the Southland here remember, we are not closing down Petrotrin. I really don't want to song like him. It will offend me badly. I'll get upset stomach and thing. But he lied then. And those lies have not, they have not stopped, you know. Those lies have continued. Because they will lie to you to your face. You know, up to today, they're still saying they didn't shut down Petrotrin, they restructured it. They restructured 7,000 to 8,000 direct employees and more thousands of people without a job. The refinery closed down, but they restructure. Lie. Well, I have a list here about Faris who lie and the AG who lie. And recently we find out that Dr. Rowley didn't just lie then, you know. Stuart Long didn't just lie then, you know. Remember Delcy? Delcy was allowed to come into Trinidad and Tobago when nobody else, tens of thousands of citizens stranded outside, suffering, begging family to keep them, begging friends to keep them. But Delcy could have come in here with a whole set of people from PDVSA. Oil barons came down here. And you know what the Prime Minister and Stuart Young told this country? They come to discuss COVID. Lie. Not a doctor, not a nurse, not a wardsman come. And them come to discuss COVID. You hear lie? That is lie. And that characterizes this whole government and this whole cabinet. It's lie, 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 lie. But that is why you have to spend some attention. You have to focus on how they're spending your money. Because they're coming to you to tell you things bad, you know. They're coming to tell you that things bad. We had to tax you. We had to bring property tax. We have to raise the rate increases, like Barry has been saying. They have to raise the electricity rates. They have to raise water rates. They're going to raise other rates. Just so I'm predicting that the NIS contribution rates are also going to have to go up. And that adds another rung, another price increase. Property tax is coming. I really want to spend some time on property tax, but a little tight with time tonight. This country has no right, citizens in this country have no right to be suffering from medicines in hospital. None. $440 billion. By the end of the fiscal 2024, it will be $500 billion spent. We have no right for a child to be going to school without books, for a child to be going to school without school bag, without things in our bag, without food. We have no right for people to be suffering in poverty. But it's happening. And it is happening because while the government is spending money, it is not spending any money on things that you need. It is not spending the money on you. I repeat, it is for friend, family, and financiers alone. Small businesses closing down. Why? Small businesses closing down in this country, left, right, and center, so big business could rise. Who are benefiting? Friend, family, financiers. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we shouldn't have a crime problem. This country shouldn't have a crime problem. We have enough money to hire enough police, to fix every court in this country, to hire enough judges and juries, etc., 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 to treat with crime the way it should be treated with. But they will not do that. There's a shortage of police officers. There's a shortage in the judiciary. All of that information has come out in the public domain. Shortage left, right, and center of things that they don't care about crime. That's why they open the borders. They don't care about crime. That is why they're not equipping the police. That's why the Forensic Science Center is stillborn. They're not treating with any of those things because they simply do not care about your safety. And you know, when you decide to take up the action, when you decide to fight back, when you decide to put things in place to protect yourselves, the Minister of Works, Rohanson, and disappeared all the time, all of a sudden could show up in a particular area to buff up people for building a guard booth. You think that is shameless? Today, ladies and gentlemen, in the age of technology in 2023, a businesswoman from Suchitrace has gone missing for the last 3 months. Nobody knows where she is. Nothing is being done by this government. In Palmyst, home invasions by gangs of thieves, thugs, murderers, and criminals are a normal thing. Not just Palmyst, right across Oropouche West. Gangs are stalking. And the government is doing nothing. What you have is you have a Minister of National Security who prostrate like Kumkaran, perpetually sleeping on the job, perpetually asleep. In Parliament, they just have to nudge him to wake him up, and when you nudge him, he lean on the next side to sleep again. What a shameless thing. I don't care if he has a medical problem or not. God forgive me. If you can't do the job, get the hell out. Last year, this gentleman, this same Kumbhakaran, this same gentleman told the Standing Finance Committee that 30% of the CCTV cameras were not working. This year, he come back and tell the same Standing Committee, he's not sure how much fixed, but they're installing 2,500 at a rate of 35 to 50 a day. You know, by today, all them cameras are supposed to be up and running. You know why you're not hearing anything about that? Because from the time Fitzgerald Hines opened his mouth to speak, what you think coming out? The truth? Remember as well, ladies and gentlemen, $1 million spent to buy 20 ladders. You know nobody held accountable for that up to now? Remember the TSTT fiasco? Where the minister come and lie, and TSTT lie too? And the minister come and say, listen, we're going to do an investigation. And when we're going to do an investigation, we'll put it in the public domain. They fire Lisa Agard right afterwards. You hear anything about our investigation since? They don't cover it up. And that's not the only one. There are multiple investigations that have come to the parliament, that have the parliament big announcement made. Big, we're doing an investigation. And at the end of the day, we have nothing. I am overly cautious that you see this report that is now in the Prime Minister's hands about the tragedy that took place with these divers, that the same thing will happen as has happened elsewhere. Overly cautious, ladies and gentlemen, because the Prime Minister have no role, none, in receiving that. All he's supposed to do is receive it and pass it on. Why are we still waiting days? Why wasn't it done today? Who are you protecting? Remember, this is the same man when he heard about a crime being committed, an alleged crime being committed at Petrotrin. Didn't call the police as head of the National Security Council. He didn't call the police, he didn't call a lawyer. He called a friend to find out how things going. So when his friends are now in charge of Petrotrin and Heritage, etc., what do you think he's doing with that report? Why is it still? It should have been an automatic. Hand it here, hand it to the DPP, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. Because while this government spending billions, they're coming to you for millions more. I told you about the property tax, I told you about rate increases, I told you about NIS, etc. I want to talk about property tax for 1 second. You know they say they bring in property tax, and property tax will be based on the value of your estate, the rental value. You know that is fake. If you're not earning an income, why are they charging you an income? If you have a front yard, what's the next move? To come and charge you for having a garden? You have a car, the next move is to come and charge you for working taxi? Because it's a rat, it is a fake income that they are charging you with, and that is unethical and inappropriate. Ladies and gentlemen, all is not lost. You have the power to make things different. We cannot wait for 2 more years. We must hold this government accountable now, today. Our children and their children are depending on us. We must put aside all these petty differences. Stop taking the P&M chain up, and we must unite. Together we can, ladies and gentlemen. We must unite. And tonight, from this platform, I challenge all of you viewing and listening. We have had 8 years of conmanship, corruption, nepotism, fraud, and lies. This country cannot continue like this for 2 more years. Send me a WhatsApp message or an email. Send the facts. Ask questions yourself under the Freedom of Information request. Share what you know and what you find out and demand the answers. Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. It is time for patriots to assemble. Join us now. You know, it is easy when you look at the state of this country to feel depressed and frustrated. I am buffered and supported by scripture. I wouldn't quote scripture here tonight, but I am buffered and supported by scripture. Tonight, we are in the season of the Advent. And the message of the first week of Advent is hope. So while I've spoken to you about the negative things, I want to leave you with a hopeful message inspired by this blissful and joyful season. We are a people today living in darkness. But by God's grace, we will have the power to change things and to find our way into the light. I am committed to being your partner. The UNC is committed to being your partner in bringing about a national revival. And as we enter this blessed season, I implore you never to lose hope, no matter how bleak things seem. Because while it is always darkest before the dawn, as sure as day follows, you know it, say it with me, as sure as the day follows the night, the sun will rise again, and we will be back into government led by the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bissessa. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all. May God bless our nation. May we find peace and safety in this season of goodwill. Happy everything to all my people. God bless. Thank you very much.
Because what